Lying isolated in the East Pacific in an extreme windward position, Rapa Nui is the easternmost Polynesian island. It is a Pacific high island, formed by the coalescing flows of three Pliocene to Holocene age volcanoes. Basalts and andesitic rocks are characteristic, and soils are predominantly loams and clays. The Rapa Nui landscape is one of gently rolling hills and slopes, irregularly punctuated by volcanic cones. Lava plains are frequently densely carpeted with loose rock cover. Maximum elevation is 510 meters above sea level. Rapa Nui National Park contains archaeological evidence, consisting mainly of ahu, or ceremonial structures, houses and ceremonial villages, and moai, or megalithic statues. Together, they constitute an outstanding and unique cultural heritage. The Chilean island of Rapa Nui, the indigenous name of Easter Island, was included on UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites in 1995. Rapa Nui was settled around 300 AD by Polynesians, probably from the Marquesas, who brought with them a Holy Stone Age society. All the cultural elements in Rapa Nui prior to the arrival of Europeans indicate that there were no other incoming groups. They rule out the many hypotheses that have been advanced regarding settlement from South America, Melanesia, Egypt, or elsewhere. According to island tradition, the colonizing expedition of 50 people in 2 canoes was led by King Hotumatua. The European discovery of the island by the Dutch navigator Jacob Roggeveen occurred in 1722 on Easter Sunday, hence the island's name. Roggeveen found about 2,000 or 3,000 inhabitants on the island, but it appears that there were as many as 10,000 to 15,000 of them in the 16th and 17th centuries. The most famous archaeological features of Rapa Nui are the monumental stone statues, known as moai. The moai, of which there are around 1,000 on the island, are believed to represent sacred ancestors who watch over the villages and ceremonial areas. They range in height from 2 meters to 20 meters and are for the most part carved from a distinctive yellow-brown volcanic tuff, found only at the Great Quarry on the Ranuraraku volcano. They were carved out of the matrix of the rock using simple picks named toki, made of hard basalt, and then lowered down the slopes into previously dug holes. When they had been erected, work on the backs was completed. There is a clear stylistic evolution in the form and size of the moai, from the earlier small, round-headed and round-eyed figures, to the better-known large, elongated figures with carefully carved fingers, nostrils, long ears, and other features. Ahu Te Pito Te Kura Moai has the biggest moai on Easter Island, at 11 meters in height. It is the largest moai transported from the Ranuraraku quarry. The site of Ahu Te Pito Te Kura is near the water's edge. There lies a sacred rounder stone, which was smooth and did not appear to be volcanic in origin. This stone is called Te Pito Te Kura, which means the navel of light. It is believed that it represents the navel of the earth, and it was supposedly brought to the island by the leader of the first islanders to arrive here. The stone is said to contain a magnetic energy, which some people claim to feel when they lay their hands upon it. Ahu Tongariki is the largest ceremonial platform on Rapa Nui, with 15 statues. It was restored after destruction by an 8-mile tsunami following a Chilean earthquake in 1960. The statues, weighing up to 30 tons each, were carried 150 meters inland. These statues, as with all placed on the ceremonial platforms, have fully carved eye sockets, which archaeological findings indicate were brought alive with inserted eyes of white coral and red scoria or black obsidian pupils. All of the Moai on the Ahu look inland with their backs to the sea. The Moai are understood to represent clan leaders and/or ancestors. Many activities took place at the Ahu, including burial and cremation. Some of the Moai have large cylindrical pieces of a red stone known as pukao, extracted from the small volcano Punapau as headdresses. These are believed to denote special ritual status. Rano Raraku and Rano Kau were each believed to embody aspects of Rapa Nui identity, history, and mythological narrative. Each was uniquely exploited for the main purpose of expressing the shared cultural awareness of deeply ingrained and ancient status alignments. Alternative forms of the carver's art, sculpture in Rano Raruku, and petroglyphs at Rano Kau, stated and reinforced the main social east-west division through form, style, iconography, and metaphor. The petroglyphs and rock paintings were important sacred images for the ancient Rapa Nui of Easter Island. Petroglyphs are located in every sector of the island where there are suitable surfaces. Favored locations are smooth areas of lava flow or on smooth basalt boulders. Most of these surfaces occur along coastal areas. Many petroglyphs are eroded and indistinct or concealed in caves. Around 1,000 sites with some 4,000 petroglyphs have been catalogued. Designs and images were carved out of a rock for a variety of reasons: to create totems, to mark territory, or to memorialize a person or event. Despite unusual design motifs and the large sizes of many of the designs, the Easter Island rock art was overlooked until 1981, when an intensive documentation project began. Orongo emerged as a ceremonial site and cultural and political counterpoint to the socio-economic challenge of Hotu Iti. The expansion of the Hotu Iti district from about 1280 AD is based upon agricultural success and culminates in the construction of Aho Tongarikik in 1500 AD. The east-west division we discern within Rano Raruku reflects the ancient and pragmatic recognition of geological reality in terms of the distribution of the resource and the incorporation of that reality into the division of space based on regional status history. The Orongo ceremonial village, which was probably the center of a complex of religious practices related to the Birdman cult, consists of over 50 semi-subterranean stone houses built in contiguous groups, located on the rim of the Ranu Kau crater below a towering cliff. Orongo is the center of the main concentration of petroglyphs that are scattered throughout the island. At the Orongo site, the petroglyph motif evolved from an elongated form into the highly stylized developed design. These designs represent fertility symbols, divinities, birds, marine species, boats, and elements of everyday life. The shrines of the island, or ahu, of which there are around 300, vary considerably in size and form. The ahu are generally located on the coast and oriented parallel to it. The nature of the geology of the island is such that there are many caves, ana, around the coast of the island. These were used in the past by the islanders as temporary or permanent dwellings. The crucial centers of ceremonial activity were the ahu, the sanctuaries of the people of Rapa Nui, and the Moai statues were the ritually charged sacred objects of those sanctuaries. Located in the Oroi region, the ahu Akahanga is a site in ruins. Some call it the king's platform or the ruler's platform. The Rulu Hotu Matoa is believed to be buried close to this place. Destroyed ahu and overturned moai with huge topknots are scattered around the site. When standing, these statues must have been impressive, but the fighting between clans put an end to them. Some specialists have plans to restore the site, while others oppose it and believe that Akahanga is better left untouched. Discussion about preservation of the archaeological environment on Rapa Nui presents complex questions tied to the island's history, both ancient and during the historic period following European contact. With the toppling of the Moai in the 18th century, the island experienced a purposeful destruction of its own archaeological heritage. As a Moai, ahu, and other ancient archaeological objects around the island are mainly crafted from stone, they are somewhat resistant to deterioration. Different types of stone, however, weather at different rates, with different levels of degradation. There are many lava tube caves on Easter Island, both above and below sea level. Some were used for rituals, some for growing food, some for hiding from warriors or slavers, and some from storing precious objects so the missionaries wouldn't destroy them. The Cave of the Cannibals, or Anakena, is a cavern where the island people took refuge during times of war. The walls and ceiling were painted with designs of sooty terns, most of which have been eroded, though there are a few left. The cave was used as part of the Birdman festivals, as a site where the participants prepared themselves for the procession up to the village of Orongo. It was called Cave of the Cannibals, not because it was occupied by cannibals, but because when it was used as part of the Birdman rituals, the cave looked as if it were swallowing people. The Anatepahu on the western coast of Rapa Nui Island is a series of lava tube caves that can be walked through. At a number of places on the island, there are sizable caves that were used once by the ancient Rapa Nui natives for living quarters, shelters, or hideouts. The caves are actually empty lava tunnels that at one time contained rivers of molten lava. Once the lava drained out, the hollow tunnels remained. Inside the tunnel was dark and damp, with water dripping from overhead and occasional spider webs. It is at once an eerie sight and a fascinating underground complex. Another part of the cave with a collapsed roof was used as a mataveri, an underground garden still filled with bananas and other edible plants. The beach at Anakena is one of only 2 sandy beaches on the island. This is the most Polynesian-looking part of the island, a true paradise with a grove of coconut palms that stretches to a white sand beach and a calm blue cove of warm Pacific waters. It is believed to be the first place where the family of Hotu Matua landed after navigating the Pacific Ocean, as well as the residential center of ancient rulers. It is also the site of the restored Ahu Naunau. The idyllic setting here is interrupted by an ahu with 6 moai, a stark reminder that one has not left Easter Island. The distinct features of the moai, with carvings on their backs, are accented by the red scoria topknots, or pukaus, on their heads. The reason why the Rapa Nui began putting the pukau on selected moai remains a mystery. Norwegian anthropologist Thor Heyerdahl, referring to the mysterious red-headed race that was reported on that island, concluded that they represented top knots of red hair. Other archaeologists point to the tradition of placing a large stone on the image of a dead leader as a sign of death and mourning. The detail work on the statues at Ahu Naunau is truly remarkable. Precisely chiseled facial features, the now familiar long ears and thin lips, are all carved on the Ahu Naunau statues to a degree not seen at other sites. It is thought that the island was largely forested before humans settled it. About 16 species of trees or woody shrubs existed, and at least one large palm. An alternative hypothesis is that the island was grass-covered with palm trees and shrubs, concentrated in lowland areas. In either case, the island was largely deforested by the time Europeans arrived in 1722. Before the arrival of the first Europeans, the only fauna on the island were black rats and migratory seabirds that came to nest on the cliffs and islets of Matukaukau, Mautuiti, and Mautunui. Later, chickens were brought from other islands in Oceania. Sailing ships brought goats, and the missionaries brought pigs, rabbits, and other domestic animals. There is virtually no wildlife except for horses, which are thought to have been introduced by colonists. Nobody knows how many, but best estimates put the number at around 7,000 exemplars, compared to the human population of 4,000. Dynamic geographic data sets are essential to describing and interpreting the interaction of natural and human phenomena on the Rapa Nui cultural landscape. Ranuraruku is partially filled with a marshy freshwater lake, roughly 350 meters in diameter, and encircled by thick reeds. Today it covers about 45% of the southern third of the lake's surface. while Rano Raruku preserves its original form as a parasitic cone of Maunga terevaca. Its southeastern exterior slopes have been eroded by ancient marine action to create a steep cliff some 300 meters high. Rano Raruku and Rano Kau were each believed to embody aspects of Rapa Nui identity, history, and mythological narrative. Each was uniquely exploited for the main purpose of expressing the shared cultural awareness of ancient and deeply ingrained status alignments. Rano Raruku volcano is the source of almost all the Moai. The consolidated tuff or tephra ash of Rano Raruku evidences well-defined textures from coarse, medium to fine, and was laid down in rough, dipping layers or beds. Using relative size as the main criterion, geologists have defined classes of dense basalt or lapilli scattered throughout the tuff. While Rano Raruku tuff is a superb sculptural material in terms of the relative ease of carving, it is also fragile. Bedding of the tuff appears to be a factor in the angle at which moai were cut in the quarries. Lapilli impeded the carving progress on some statues, or disfigured the surface appearance of others, sufficiently to cause abandonment of individual projects. About 400 statues in various stages of development are still scattered around the outside and inside of the crater. Rano Kau and Rano Raruku, while dissimilar in terms of available stone resources, were alike in terms of visually evident morphology, landscape dominance, cultural exploitation, and purpose of place. Rano Kau is not known for its giant moai or dramatic ruins, but for its natural beauty. Glistening lakes and marshes dotted the floor of the crater. Hawks rode thermals along its green and brown streaked walls. The knife-edge crater wall drops 300 meters to the deep blue sea. Between the curvature of the earth and the circular edge of the caldera, one can suffer a strong sensation of vertigo. Ahuvinapu is not as spectacular as some of the other sites on Easter Island. There are no erected moai, no giant craters to peer into. But at Ahuvinapu, to some, stands evidence that flies in the face of what modern archaeologists want us to believe about the people that built the ruins. At Ahuvinapu, a style of stonework is evidenced that has not been found at any other Polynesian site. This is the only site on Easter Island where this level of workmanship is shown as well, though other sites once existed, but were torn down by the missionaries to build houses. While this type of precise stone fitting is non-existent in Pacific Island cultures, it is common among South American cultures that occurred before and during Easter Island's occupation. The Tahai complex is unique in that the statues erected on it are all very different from each other, both in scale and shape. There is a large figure in the center, with two figures of similar size on its left. Several theories have been advanced concerning the methods by which the stone was transported from the quarries, and the statue raised to a vertical position. These certainly involved the use of wooden rollers and levers, and undoubtedly constituted a contributory factor in the island's deforestation. Situated near the town of Hangaroa, the Ahu at Tahai sits near a canoe ramp made of rounded beach stones. Restored by the American archaeologist William Molloy, Tahai is thought to be among the earliest Ahu structures on the island, dating back to 690 AD. In Papavaca, we find another popular rock art motif on Easter Island, the canoe shape. The best examples of canoe motifs are carved on dense lava, some of which were subsequently cut out for painga, that is, worked stone for structures. Over 4,000 petroglyphs have been documented on Easter Island, with a variety of motifs. There are also several thousand cupoles, or small carved hollows, usually 3 to 5 centimeters in diameter, which usually act as decorative elements around the petroglyph panels. Rapa Nui National Park contains one of the most remarkable cultural phenomena in the world. An artistic and architectural tradition of great power and imagination was developed by a society that was completely isolated from external influences of any kind for over a millennium.